Hey everybody, welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we're going to be doing something special together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. If you watched my Fanny Awards back at the top of this year, and if you didn't, the description's in the link below, sweetheart. But if you watched those, you know that I had to do something a little different to compensate for the fact that 2020 did not have movie theaters and no new movies came out. So what I did was, between the months of October and December 2020, I watched 69 movies that I had never seen before in my life. I think it was 69 or 68, I can't remember at this point. The point is, it was a huge chunk of movies over a period of 3 months that I had never seen before that did not come out in the year 2020. Well, since we're still not really getting much new material to work with here, I'm not going to pay $30 to rent Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm sorry, that's not happening. So instead, I decided to turn that little one-off thing into a new tradition. So we have passed the point where another chunk of 3 months has gone by, January to March of 2021. And in that chunk of time, I watched 29 movies that I had never seen before. So I figured, well, why not do the same thing and review those 29 movies right here for you in a special episode of Thumb Together. So let's do that right now, and let's see how fast we can get through 29 movies. Here we go. Airplane. Since I'm not the hugest fan of Mel Brooks or Wayans Brothers parody comedy, I went into this with expectations lower than Barry White's Baritone. I actually thought it was a pretty decent fun time, but honestly it just made me wish I was watching the Airport movie instead. That inflatable co-pilot cracked me up though. This is one of the better parodies I've seen. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. We got a surprisingly fun, creative little flick with the first Alien vs. Predator. So naturally, this sequel throws all of that in the trash and gives us a god-awful teen slasher romp that is hands down my least favorite movie in this video, as well as the worst entry in both the Alien and Predator series. Congratulations! The movie is so poorly lit that I had to manually adjust the exposure on these screenshots just so you could see what was happening here. The Black Hole. I found this old gem tucked away in a dark corner of Disney Plus, and I had a fun little time with it. Imagine if The Twilight Zone and Star Trek had a Technicolor love child and Disney made it. If you like 70s sci-fi and cheesy-looking robots that make better heroes than any of the human characters, then The Black Hole is going to be a feast for your eyes. Booksmart. Director Olivia Wilde takes umbrage with people who tout this as female Superbad, but that's exactly what it is. Take Superbad and replace the two dorky teenage boys with two dorky teenage girls, and you get Booksmart. Still, that doesn't stop this from being a wildly funny and sweet movie with two lead actresses who are so damn good that it's only a matter of time before they become household names. Carlito's Way. If you value life and limb, then stay out of Carlito's Way. At least, I'm assuming that's what the title means. As someone who played a lot of Grand Theft Auto Vice City in my teens, I was unprepared for how much of Carlito's Way got copy-pasted into that game. Seriously, how did lawyers not get involved? Regardless, this was prime Pacino goodness, and I loved every minute of it. The Conversation. A tense, quiet 70s thriller where Gene Hackman plays a paranoid surveillance expert who overhears two people talking about potentially committing murder. 70s paranoia made for some great cinematic thrills, more on that later, and The Conversation delivered that in spades. This is my favorite Gene Hackman performance to date. Da 5 Bloods. Spike Lee's latest outing, Da 5 Bloods, was released just last June on Netflix, but I didn't get around to watching it till this January. It was typical Spike Lee. Great characters, a powerful story, a long runtime, and topical themes galore. If you watched my 2020 Fanny Awards, you might have seen Da 5 Bloods earn its fair share of nominations. Just saying. Den of Thieves. Hey, you know what was great? Heat! You know what we should do? We should remake Heat! But let's miss the point entirely. And that, in a nutshell, was the inception of the idea that became Den of Thieves, a cheap Gerard Butler action drama that somehow manages the task of ripping off another movie beat for beat while simultaneously making every one of those beats worse the second time around. This movie was made for sad divorced dads who think it's cool and badass to see Gerard Butler threaten his ex-wife's family because he's a manly macho man who growls and drinks beer and grrr, man. Dope. Is it too lazy of me to just say that dope is dope? Because dope is significantly dope. It is also radical, way cool, totally awesome, cowabunga, and you get the idea. All you Mandalorian fans out there, this is the reason why Rick Famuyiwa got hired for that show. Because he made dope. From Dusk Till Dawn. Robert Rodriguez movies are an acquired taste. They're either tween superhero dramas or cartoony bloodbaths. From Dusk Till Dawn falls into the latter category. And it was okay, but the gimmick got old real fast. The final shot was a delightful surprise. You just have to sit through 100 minutes of very repetitive shooting to get there. Johnny Mnemonic. This came out in 1995, but I watched it for the first time in January 2021 because it's set in January 2021. And you know what? Totally worth the wait. Johnny Mnemonic is pure, unadulterated cyberpunk fun, or at least as much fun as you can have in a world where everyone is either an evil corporate oligarch or a homeless cyber scrapper. That's what I love about this genre. You can put the prefix cyber in front of anything and it sounds cool. Personally, I want to be a cyber gardener. The King of Comedy. In what is undisputedly my favorite Robert De Niro performance, the King of Comedy delivers a dark, hilarious, and unsettling tale that ended up being my favorite film in this video. But once again, plagiarism rears its ugly head. The Todd Phillips Joker movie borrowed so much from the King of Comedy that once again I find myself asking just how they were allowed to get away with it. I guess if you have to steal though, you might as well steal from the best. In Search of Darkness Part 2. The newest movie on this list, In Search of Darkness Part 2 continues the neon-colored celebration of 80s horror started by the original. Another 4.5-hour long documentary that's over before you know it. It features interviews with industry greats like Nancy Allen, Robert Englund, and Tom Savini. Together, these two documentaries are a treasure trove and a dream come true for horror fans. The Lobster. Speaking of horror, The Lobster scared the pants off of me. In a good way and a bad way? I'm not sure anymore. Unfolding like a feature-length episode of Black Mirror, The Lobster envisions a dystopian future where single people are forced into nightmarish concentration camps until they can find a mate. And the punishment for not finding one in time is, well, I'll let you find that out for yourself. As someone who is chronically single, this film scared me in ways I wasn't expecting. And ironically enough, I watched it on Valentine's Day. The Lodge. I was all set to go see this 2020 horror flick in theaters, but then, pandemic. Turns out that's fitting because The Lodge is about people who don't particularly like each other, isolated inside a small winter lodge in the middle of nowhere, unable to leave. And then spooky stuff starts happening because of course it does. The Lodge takes you for quite a ride and has more twists than any flick in recent memory, but it definitely doesn't work as well with a second viewing. MacGruber. Again, parody's not exactly my thing, and I was never a big MacGyver guy anyway, so it's not like I was even going to know what was being parodied. But I walked away from MacGruber with a big ol' smirk on my face, and I owe it to some very unexpected moments. I was expecting something stupid, and I got that, but they doubled down on the stupid in a really genuine way, and MacGruber ended up all the better for it. Married to the Mob. Michelle Pfeiffer's married to a mafioso. He turns out to be a jerk. Big shocker there. So she leaves him to start a new life. And hilarity ensues. The movie starts off feeling like a dark domestic crime drama, and then a quarter of the way through, it does a total 180 and morphs into a colorful screwball comedy. Whiplash notwithstanding, I had a good time, and all the 80s hair was adequately both large and in charge. Memory, the origin of Alien. This neat little documentary takes a deep dive into the making of the original Alien with a very detailed look at the making of the iconic chestburster scene. A lot of love and care went into crafting that film, and Memory shows you how it was all put together. Enjoy it while you can, because I get the feeling they're not going to make one of these for Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. My Bloody Valentine. People go into a mine and get murdered by some guy in a miner costume. And that's pretty much it. One reason I love 80s horror so much is because I find the decade's aesthetic so pleasing to the eye. But My Bloody Valentine takes place in a mine shaft, and, well, a mine shaft is a mine shaft no matter what era you're in. Not the prettiest movie to look at, but a decent good time. Once Upon a Time in America. Sergio Leone's final epic film was one I was really looking forward to, and it was okay, but in the end I didn't think it was anything too special. Robert De Niro just mumbles his way through another performance playing a young thug who grew up on the mean streets of New York's Lower East Side in 1918. It's got a lot of touching moments and is laced throughout with a thick vein of nostalgia, which I appreciated. Good enough to watch once, but not great enough to watch twice. Palm Springs. Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti made a super R-rated version of Groundhog Day, and it's actually pretty good. While much more cynical than Bill Murray's time loop flick, Palm Springs still delivered the goods and took massive advantage of its premise. They also approached it from a unique perspective that I wouldn't dare spoil here. The Parallax View. And this, kids, is 1970s paranoia-fueled political thrillers at their finest. The Parallax View was terrifying and entertaining and exhilarating and everything a good thriller should be. It involved secret societies and hidden agendas and bombs and sleeper agents and assassins and a bunch of other stuff that would make Captain America blush. Watch it now. Just don't trust anybody because they're listening, man. They got ears everywhere. Piranha 1995. The original 70s Piranha spawned a franchise, and I, probably in one of my many drunken stupors, mistakenly thought this was part of it. It's not. Instead, this is a beat-for-beat made-for-TV remake of the original. They stayed so faithful to the 70s version that I had a severe case of déjà vu the whole time. But I guess it's worth it to see Mila Kunis in one of her first roles. Spoilers, the fish kill people. Pretty in Pink. I'm known to wear a big ol' hyperbole hat from time to time, but I think I can say with clear conscience that John Hughes was one of those rare artists whose work defined an entire generation. I hadn't seen Pretty in Pink yet and sought to rectify that. It was loads of fun, full of Hughesy goodness, and 80s teens doing what 80s teens do best. Their hair. Roma. Netflix's Roma was talked about endlessly during award season, so I finally checked it out. I had no idea what to expect, and I think that's the best way to go into it. It is beautifully shot, but mercilessly heartbreaking. Don't count on Roma pulling any punches, but do count on it to sweep you away. The Running Man. This cheesy sci-fi satire of reality TV is actually more relevant now than it was when it came out. Seeing Schwarzenegger fight a bunch of oversized action figures is great fun, but there's definitely less meat on this particular cut of beef compared to some of his better outings. Splendor in the Grass. Like Roma, Elia Kazan's film about the dangers of sexual repression in small-town America pulls exactly 0 punches. For a movie made in 1961, Splendor in the Grass has scarily timely things to say about mental health. The beautiful, gone too soon Natalie Wood delivers one of her most touching performances here. Don't sleep on this one. Strange Magic. The final movie produced by George Lucas before he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, Strange Magic is, well, strange. It's an animated jukebox musical fairy tale that feels like Frozen sometimes and Thumbelina other times and a bizarre fever dream pretty much the whole way through. There are some really funny bits here, and I actually found myself kind of digging the romance between the two lead characters, but this is definitely not what I'd expect from Lucasfilm's last hurrah. Under the Skin. A relentlessly creepy film, this became known upon its release as that one movie where you see all of Scarlett Johansson's naughty bits. But it's so much more than that. Under the Skin's story is tough to describe because it's told in a hyper-stylized, avant-garde manner with almost no dialogue. That can be tough to sit through for a lot of people. But personally, I think the fun comes from trying to unpack this film after the fact. You'll be left in awe, wondering just what it is you've seen, and you won't forget it anytime soon either. Boom! There you go. 29 movies reviewed in no time at all. And at the beginning of July, once another 3 months have passed, I'm going to do it again because I've already started watching a bunch of movies I hadn't seen before, and it's only the beginning of April. So look forward to the April to June edition of whatever I'm going to call this new feature here on my channel. But this was a very special episode of Thumb Together. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy, and I hope to see you all here next time. Until then, adios.